You've been lied to about discipline. You see, they want you to believe that it is something that you have to endure through gritted teeth. Something that you need to go through with flying colors, no matter how much it hurts. The truth is far darker than that. And today, we're going to reveal it in 7 parts. Before we start, make sure you turn on subtitles so that you don't miss any of the revelations. Got it. Good. Let's begin. No one. They say that discipline is necessary for success. But what if that's not true? What if there are people who have achieved everything without any form of discipline? Well, that would be crazy, right? It would mean that the foundation of society is completely wrong. That all of our role models were liars. That we have been following the wrong path in life. But here's the thing. There are many different kinds of discipline. So when we talk about discipline, we usually refer to self-discipline, the ability to force yourself to do what needs to be done, even if you do unreally feel like it. But that is only one type of discipline, and it is by no means the most important one. There are other types of discipline, such as organizational discipline, which is the ability of an organization to achieve its goals through the coordinated efforts of its members, or institutional discipline, which is the ability of an institution to maintain its integrity and effectiveness over time. These are just 2 examples, but there are many more. And what we need to understand is that these other types of discipline are much more important than self-discipline. In fact, without them, self-discipline would be completely useless. For example, without organizational discipline, a company could never function. Without institutional discipline, a government could never serve its people. Self-discipline only becomes relevant when you want to achieve something on your own, something that does not involve other people. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that self-discipline is not important, but it does mean that it is overrated. We tend to give it too much attention while completely ignoring the other types of discipline. The truth is that you cannot succeed in life without all 3 types of discipline working together in harmony. And if you want to know how to cultivate all of them, then keep watching, because the next revelation is going to show you exactly that. No, 2. Discipline isn't something you do every now and then. It's something that you do all the time. It is a way of life. But what if that's not true? What if there are people who are disciplined sometimes and others not so much? Would that mean that they're not actually disciplined at all? The answer is no. The truth is that discipline is a habit, a behavior that can be modified. So yes, there are people who are more disciplined than others, but that doesn't mean that they're perfect or that they never slip up. It simply means that they have developed better habits than others. And habits are something that can always be modified. Even the most disciplined person in the world started out as someone who was not very disciplined. They simply made a conscious effort to improve their habits, and eventually they became so automatic that it seems like second nature to us. The key is to realize that discipline is a skill that can be learned, not a talent that some people are born with. If you really want to become more disciplined, then you need to start practicing. And the best way to do that is by setting small goals for yourself and gradually increasing the difficulty as you get better. Don't try to go from 0 to 100 overnight, because you will only end up burning out. Instead, take it slow and steady and celebrate your progress along the way. And before you know it, you will be more disciplined than you ever thought possible. No. 3. Discipline is essential for success. This is something that we've been told over and over again. But what if that's not true? What if there are people who have achieved great things without being particularly disciplined? Would that mean that discipline is not important? The answer is no. The truth is that discipline is a means to an end. It is not the end in itself. In other words, discipline is not important because it is difficult. It is important because it helps us to achieve our goals. And if you think that you can achieve your goals without being disciplined, then you are sorely mistaken. Every single person who has ever accomplished anything worthwhile did so because they were disciplined. This includes your favorite athletes, actors, musicians, entrepreneurs, and so on. Of course, this doesn't mean that everyone who is disciplined will be successful. There are many people who are disciplined but mediocre. However, the opposite is also true. If you want to succeed in anything in life, then you must be willing to put in the hard work required. And that means being disciplined. There is no other way about it. No. 4. Discipline means doing what you're supposed to do, even when nobody is watching. This is a common misconception about discipline. Many people think that discipline is all about doing things perfectly all the time, but that is not the case. The truth is that discipline is not an absolute. It is a relative concept that depends on the situation. In other words, what is considered disciplined in one context may not be considered disciplined in another context. For example, if you are a professional athlete, then it is considered disciplined to train every day and to eat healthy foods. However, if you are a busy executive, then it might not be considered disciplined to check your email first thing in the morning or to take phone calls during dinner. This does not mean that checking your email or taking phone calls is good or bad. It simply means that these behaviors are considered more or less disciplined depending on the situation. So the next time you think that something is not disciplined, ask yourself this question: what is considered disciplined in this particular context? Once you figure that out, you will be able to determine whether or not a certain behavior is disciplined or not. No. 5. Discipline is necessary to avoid failure. This is a common misconception about discipline. Many people think that discipline is all about achieving success, but the truth is that it has little to do with success. In fact, the main purpose of discipline is to help you avoid failure. This is because discipline allows you to stick to your goals and plans even when things get tough. Without discipline, you are likely to give up on your goals and dreams the first time you face a challenge. And that's why the vast majority of people fail in life. They lack the self-control and willpower to stay focused on their objectives and resist temptations. But if you are disciplined, then you won't have to worry about that. You will be able to stay on track and achieve your goals no matter what obstacles come your way. Of course, this doesn't mean that everyone who is disciplined will succeed. There are many other factors that contribute to success, such as luck and timing. However, if you want to give yourself the best chance of success, then you need to be disciplined. It is simply the most important quality that you can develop if you want to achieve your goals. No. 6. Discipline requires constant suffering. This is perhaps the biggest misconception about discipline. Many people think that discipline is all about pain and sacrifice, but that is not the case. In fact, discipline can be enjoyable. Think about it. When you are engaged in an activity that you find pleasurable, such as playing a video game or watching pornography, you are able to concentrate on that activity and ignore all distractions. That is discipline. Concentration is nothing more than the ability to focus your attention on a particular object or activity, and anyone can learn how to concentrate better with practice. So the next time you think that discipline requires suffering, remember that it doesn't. In fact, discipline can be quite enjoyable. Number 7. The truth isn't easy to hear, but it will set you free. You see, they want you to believe that discipline is something that you need to go through with flying colors, no matter how much it hurts. But the truth is far darker than that. The truth is that discipline is something that you should engage in whenever you want to achieve something. You see, discipline is not an absolute. It is not something that you need to do all the time. It is not something that you need to do perfectly. It is not something that you need to do if you don't want to. No, discipline is something that you should engage in whenever you want to achieve something, whenever you have a goal that is important to you, whenever you have a plan that you want to follow, whenever you have a dream that you want to pursue, then and only then do you need to be disciplined. At other times, you should relax, enjoy life, and have fun. That is the only way to live a balanced life. That is the only way to be truly successful. And now we're going to reveal the ultimate truth about discipline. The truth that they don't want you to know. Are you ready for it? The truth is that discipline is not something that you need to suffer through. It is not something that you need to endure with gritted teeth. No, discipline is something that you should embrace. It is something that you should enjoy. You see, discipline is nothing more than the ability to focus your attention on a particular object or activity. And anyone can learn how to concentrate better with practice. So the next time you think that discipline is all about pain and sacrifice, remember that it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, discipline can be quite enjoyable. All you need to do is find an activity that you find pleasurable and practice concentrating on it. That's it. Thank you for watching.